Hello, everyone, and welcome to the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show and podcast, episode 121. I am your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today are my usual suspects of Scott Williams and Barry Adam Stokes. Barry, where in the world are you today?
I am literally just outside a Tesla supercharger waiting for it to get to 6 o'clock and then I can charge with lower rates because I'm a tight git.
Oh, no, just are you bragging about the car that you're driving as well, Baz, or is it is it?
Bit of both, really, to be honest. I didn't want to mention I was in a car park, but that would be a bit weird, wouldn't it?
Podcast is paying as well, lads. Baz is driving a Tesla. Scott, how are you doing today?
Yeah, no worries. Managed to get my 2005 Toyota Yaris home. Okay.
I love your car, mate. It's still going. It's still going.
It's going till it's completely dead. It's yeah, ticking over in it, bless it. But yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I've got the heating on, so yeah, the podcast is playing as well.
Lovely. It is. But yeah, that's very true. You don't have to have your big snuggly blanket on this time. But even
I've
though
got that, don't you worry.
oh, the blanket is there for podcast listeners, the blanket's there, and he's got a cup of tea as well. He's prepared for this podcast today. Anyway, thanks ever so much for everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast from, Spotify, Apple, or wherever. And then also follow us on social media platforms, Pod, P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I did a couple of TikToks. Thank you for everyone who got involved. Right, let's start off with Manager of the Week, shall we? And it's an incredibly popular Manager of the Week this week. Friend of the podcast, everyone's favourite Howcroft, Heather Howcroft, 80 points this week. Made 2 transfers that were banked, and so there was no minuses, no hits. Fabianski in goal, who kept a clean sheet against everyone's Isak. Everyone bought in. Crazy, really, at the end of the day, isn't it? Everyone bought Isak. He's the nailed-on guy. Can't see West Ham getting a result. Kept a clean sheet against Newcastle. Pedro Porro at the back with 14 points in one of my favourite days of the season so far. Seeing Man City get beat 4-0 always makes me feel good. 8 Nuri and Mazraoui at the back with 2 points each. And Bumo, Palmer, and Bruno Fernandes all not delivering, as a lot of people had this week. But Mo Salah, captain, doing really well. Solanke getting 1 assist, Visser with 2 points, and Cunha, 16 points. Someone who a lot of people brought in this week, and also a few people brought in on wildcard. Scott and I being 2 of those people. And let's not talk about the fact that Baz has probably still got Strand Larson and not Cunha. Let's not. let's,
Still there. He's still there.
He's still there, still there. It's horrible when that happens, isn't it? I had that with Erdegaard versus Havertz last year, and it just cost me so many points. Just going with the one wrong transfer. But there you go, it happens, doesn't it?
Just looking at Ever's team, and she's made 2 transfers. You think, oh, she's done well with them. Literally made no difference. I think she had a net of -1 with those 2 transfers. A couple of defensive ones there. So all the big hits she already had in the week before. And by the way, looking at her bench the week before, had 18, 19, 28 points in on the bench the week before. My days. She would be sniffing that top 5.
It would be, considering she is just under 30 points off the top here, 26, I think it is, off the top. Sam Kimoni still top. Well done, Sam. 772. Nice little lead again. You went off the top, and then you've gone back up, and you got a little lead, which is good. James Pellett up there in second. Kieran Ball with the crystal balls, great name, up there in third. Sam in fourth, and Dennis in fifth. Yeah, we've got some good tight league still. Really good tight league. Scott, how far have you slipped down? 15th Green Arrow this week. Congratulations.
Yeah. Had a good week in the end. Bit of a shame. There's a few more points I think could have been had by a couple more players, but no, decent week. I'm happy with that. And like I say, if I'm anywhere near the top 10 in this really competitive league, I'm absolutely delighted. And 11 points off the top 10. So yeah, happy.
Got to give a shout out as well to Jack Howcroft, both Howcrofts. I think second and third in the Manager of the Month race so far this month. There's only 1 game week left, so it's the month of the Howcrofts nearly. Wow. At the moment, they're absolutely smashing it so far. Obviously, they're in fifth. But shout out has got to be said to Ali Farrell and Richard Kirk, 17th and 18th. Unfortunately, Ali's just still ahead of Richard, which has got to still hurt from last season, Richard. Yeah, 17th and 18th. Sandeep in 19th. Shout out to Liam Ormsby as well in 11th, our most famous listener, of course. And you get all the way down to we're playing AI Pod Team versus Guru. Pod Team AI is currently 1 point ahead of the Guru after 12 weeks. And we don't have the same team. We haven't had the same since the start. This is literally, I'm doing it Fantasy Football Hub AI picks against my own picks. I'm 1 point behind. Might as well not bother really thinking about it, lads. Should have just got AI to do my theme so far this season. Baz, how far do we need to scroll down for you? Are you on this page?
Just keep going. I'm 60 odd or something like that. Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Click next. Yeah, just embarrass me even more. Yeah.
next page. 60th. Well, do you know what it is, Baz? When you win a trophy every single season, we have to rip into you a little bit when you're not doing as well. But you're not miles, Ben. Where are you? I can't even find you in here. Where? Oh, 64th.
64.
64th.
Not even my favourite number either, so.
Well, yeah, you need to be a little bit lower down the league, don't you, for that one? So let's have a look, lads. We'll start off by talking about a couple of teams that we want to have a look at from a fantasy perspective, and then we'll do a little bit of football chat. We're going to cover off 2 game weeks this week because there is a midweek fixture, midweek set of fixtures. It's the Amazon Prime midweek. Next week, so we'll probably be recording maybe Thursday next week, which I know doesn't give a lot of time for people to listen to the podcast. But Scott and I are out going to be drinking a hell of a lot of beer on Wednesday night, so we would normally do it maybe later on Wednesday, but we're going to the darts, so we can't be recording on Wednesday night unless Baz wants to do a solo live stream on YouTube.
I'd love that.
Imagine if we got back, we got an alert. Do it. We get an alert. All in Football podcast is live, and me and you are out drinking beer. We're like, what's going on here? who's live? Anyway, but game weeks 13 and 14. So deadline for game week 13 is this Friday, the 29th, which is a Friday deadline. So don't forget that. I think it's at 6 or 6:30. Can't remember, but I will check when we go to captaincies just to clarify. And then we've got the deadline on Tuesday, the 3rd of December, which will be a very similar time for game week 14. So a couple of back-to-back game weeks here. So you've got to be wary of that. You've also got to be wary of the fact there might be a touch rotation, especially considering there's Champions League this week as well as other European fixtures. Let's start off by talking about Arsenal, lads. The team that hadn't won in 4 or 5, I think, before the game against Nottingham Forest. Level on points with them as they went into that match. Battered them, didn't they? 3-0, Scott. What do we think of Arsenal and how they looked with Ødegaard back and against a good Forest team?
Yeah, I think you've just hit the nail on the head there. Ødegaard back. Watch the highlights on Match of the Day, and yeah, it's always great actually if you've got the time to watch the highlights, but also just the analysis at the end is really useful as well, because it did really highlight Ødegaard and Saka's link-up play. Everything went down that right-hand side. They integrate 1-2s, the passing, they bring in like Jesus into the game, players such as that, Trossard. It just looks like a big win. It looks like they sort of missed them almost as much as City are missing Roderick, I know we'll touch on. But yeah, Ødegaard coming back, another FPL asset, I think. But for me, that kind of opens up the crap I want Saka. It wasn't someone that I was overly fussed with. But now, after that performance, it's kind of someone, and he just, like Saka, just doesn't get flustered. Like, he just keeps returning and returning and returning. I could have had probably another goal or 2 in that game as well. And just looks constantly on it. So yeah, Arsenal, very impressive. Like you say, against a really solid Forest team. Been defensively brilliant all season. Aina has looked really, really good. But yeah, they just seem to put them to the sword a little bit. And yeah, back to keeping the clean sheets and looking a bit more solid at the back as well. So yeah, me as a David Raya owner, very happy. And you as a double Arsenal defence, very happy.
Yeah, I've seen that everyone's moved away from it, and I've just tried to see if there's an edge by going to double Arsenal defence. That's really the move. I mean, I know I didn't play Gabriel this week, and I benched him, which cost me a bit of points, but a few points. But I'm not so bothered about that. It was more the João Pedro versus Rodgers decision that I made that cost me 10 points. But there you go. It is what it is. Yeah, Odegaard back, 2 assists in the last 2 games. In the 5 games that Odegaard has played with Saka this season in the Premier League, Saka's got 12, 6, 6, 2 in the away game against Chelsea, and then 13. So 12, 6, 6, 2, and 13 when Odegaard plays. Baz, he's already gone up to 10.2 as well, Saka. Your take on Arsenal? Are we... And also, I'll ask the question as well. Scott's just mentioned there potentially an FPL asset being Odegaard. Do you think he is, or do you think it's just a no-brainer still to spend the money on Saka, really, if you've got it?
Well, first, I'm practicing my coin flips because every time I keep losing them, so I'm just practicing them now. Well, I was going to go Saka Timber, but I ended up going Palmer and Digne. So that absolute epic fail.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
God.
two taught me out again, Saka. But yeah, so that's my problems, not everyone else's. So for me, Odegaard, it, what's his price? He's at 8.2.
8.2.
Around the
8.2, yeah.
Bruno price and Bumo price. So you could just do it if you've got money in the bank, and Bumo to maybe Odegaard might be a good transfer. Obviously it's differential as well with 4.4% owned. So it could be good on that, having a double up in Arsenal's midfield. I know obviously you've gone defensively, but some of the fixtures I think maybe they'll probably leak 1 or 2 goals because, as we talked about many times on this podcast, clean sheets are like a bonus. So for me, I probably would go double midfield, Arsenal with Odegaard and Saka on that front. I think I missed the boat on getting Saka and Timber, so I'm still begrudged talking about Arsenal players, to be honest.
I think as well, if I think Baz has hit the nail on the head there. If you're still sat there and you've not got funds freed up, or you maybe you've wildcarded and you gambled on Haaland and you're actually going to take some hits, I feel like in Odegaard to Mbeumo, Brentford have got some tough fixtures coming up, and they've got Leicester at home next game. Potential new manager bounce if they get anyone in. You don't know how that's going to go, but that's after that that game. They've actually got really tough run of fixtures. Whereas a lot of people like me I've got 5.5 million in the bank because I wanted to save some money to go back to Haaland. Well, actually, I can go on Mbeumo to Saka if I wanted. So there is options there. I feel like a lot of people will be in maybe a similar situation.
Yeah, for me, it's I'm going to give Bruno one more game and see how he gets on, and I've got the money to go Bruno to Saka if I want to do that. It's the way to. I mean, I might have to downgrade one of the other players I've got, but that's not an issue. But in terms of the Arsenal clean sheets, I wanted to highlight this. So in the next game, they've got West Ham away, who have only scored 15 goals this season, who are right down near the bottom of the table. Then they've got Manchester United, who've only scored 13 goals this season. Then they've got Fulham, who, to be fair, have got 17, so they're more mid-table. But then they've got Everton, who have only scored 10 goals. Then they've got Crystal Palace, who have also scored 10 goals. Then they've got Ipswich, who have scored 13 goals. And then they've got Brentford, who have scored loads. So actually, up until game week 18, there's only the Fulham match where they're playing a team that is, I think they're just mid-table. I think they might still be bottom half, actually. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Yes, they're playing one team in the next 6 games that are in the top half in terms of goals scored, which is one of the reasons why I picked 2 Arsenal defenders. Because I think that double up in defence potentially might be worth it. Baz, have you got any Arsenal defence at the moment at all?
No.
No. Is it something you're considering, or are you trying to put out fires further up the pitch?
It was, wasn't it? Because I was going to have Timber and Saka, but
obviously, but this week, Baz, not before the
yeah. So probably not, to be honest. The problem is obviously I've got 0.4 million in the bank, I think, and it's like upgrading one of them to get a semi-premium defender. I'm like, I'd rather try and go more attacking because, as I mentioned, clean sheets is hard to come by. Yes, obviously you stated facts there about them, but who would have thought Southampton would have scored two against Liverpool? So it's one of them where I'm like, right, I'd rather have like fullbacks as my defenders. So I'll be looking at obviously people like that. Timber doesn't really get forward enough to warrant obviously his price for me. Even though he obviously had a goal disallowed against Forest, but prior to that, he just didn't really look good on the XG. So that's why I've thought, right, I'll go for consistent fullbacks at the moment that are actually performing pretty well. So it's something I would like, obviously, as you stated there, with obviously the clean sheets there, and they looked very solid. But unfortunately, it's not on my radar. But it could be on some others. That's probably why I'm doing so poor.
No, it's so. Scott, anything else to add on Arsenal? Any other points you wanted to make? I think while you think about it for one sec, there was just one thing I wanted just to mention about the holding midfield role. That was something that was in my mind because obviously we were going to talk about Rodri in a little bit in City generally. We're talking about football, but seeing Thomas Partey's had his issues off field that we won't talk about, but we saw how much they missed him. Not last season, but the season before when he was playing that holding midfield role. Their season fell apart. They were like 10 points clear, and then they lost him, and then obviously City overtook him. I think that their best midfield is Partey, Rice, and Odegaard when Rice has got a little bit more freedom. And I think the quality of him as a holding midfielder is, along with Odegaard being part of that team, makes a massive, massive difference. So, yeah, that was my point I was going to make on Arsenal. Got anything else to add on Arsenal?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was though. Oh yeah,
Sorry.
maybe just keep an eye. No, maybe just keep an eye on the defense. Like I say, it was one game, wasn't it? At the minute, your gamble, semi gamble is definitely calculated. But again, I don't think anyone just rushed too much and think Arsenal are going to be this defensive rod that they maybe were. I think though the international break's giving the time to reset. But just keep an eye on it. I still think it's a toss up. I would still lean towards what Baz said and the cheaper assets. But again, we know what football's like. Another couple of clean sheets, and we're all trying to get William Saliba back in our team.
Yeah, I do agree with your point that you made though, Scott. Just to finish off on the double defense thing, obviously I made the point about the goal scored, but West Ham looked really good yesterday. I mean, what happened there? All of a sudden, they're back there scoring two goals. Man United have got a brand new manager, so and like all these points that you've just made, Fulham actually are the ones who are scoring at. They're the only one out of the that bottom 10, sorry, next six fixtures who aren't in the bottom 10. So, yeah, like it's not a set in stone thing, but I think in terms of a gamble, I'm happy enough with it. We'll see how it pays off. The rest of the teams have got a really mixed set of fixtures, I think. Ipswich have got half decent fixtures, but I can't really think of anyone in the Ipswich team that I'd really be gambling on. I mean, I think if you've got a Liam Delap, you'd probably keep him. If you've got a Leif Davis, again, you probably keep him. Amari Hutchinson obviously looks like a decent player. He's scored against Man United. But would I be making changes in my team to get him in? Probably not. I just think they're a really difficult team to buy from.
I think as well, look at those fixtures. Forest away, that's a really tough game this season. And let's be honest, Wolves away is looking like a tough game now. They've sorted the season out. So I think when you glance, they look, ooh, juicy. But I don't think they're as easy as they look.
Yeah, it's difficult to buy from those guys. I think the other team, just to point out before we have a little bit further look at Wolves, is Brighton. There's a team that we need to mention in terms of the fixtures they've got. They a little bit hit and miss. They've had a really good start to the season compared to where probably their expectations were under a brand new manager. Southampton at home next, the best fixture on the calendar. Anyone stood out for you from Brighton, Baz, that you want to point out?
Well, there was that Kadagulu, but obviously he's injured, so he looked a good asset going defensively because they were actually playing him on the wing. Um, You could argue Rutter and João Pedro, but are they potential two rotation risks? Obviously, they both started in the last game, but obviously my fear is they'll play either one of them. But Matoma is probably one that's going under the radar as well. Obviously scored, and I think he's going to potentially going to hit form. So he's one that I'm keeping an eye on, and maybe even bring in this week. I've got a decision of either up, having him in or upgrading Delap to João Pedro or maybe even getting rid of Stren Larson. So yeah.
Whatever you do will be wrong, mate. So good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I might as well state it now, I know. So yeah, and don't go for any of them players that I've just mentioned. So yeah,
You made an interesting point there about the Rutter and João Pedro. The reason I benched João Pedro is because he hadn't started a game since he's come back from his injury, and Rutter's been playing so well. I thought they'd start Rutter in the 10 and bring João Pedro off the bench again. And my guess was that they wouldn't start João Pedro, which is why I didn't start him. And then he scored after 4 minutes and kicked me square in the nuts. So it just didn't quite work out. But does that not reiterate the point that was being made at the beginning of the season, before obviously everyone went for João Pedro over Welbeck, and then Welbeck did amazing things? João Pedro is probably one of the best value forwards in the game on penalties at Brighton. He seems to be involved in all of their play. He was their record signing bar Rutter, isn't he? I think he's their second highest signing. There was the record sign before him. They seem to have to base a lot of the play around him. Scott, do you think João Pedro is the budget forward option at the moment to go for in those fixtures in the play?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at his returns this season, as he's returned in every game that he's played more than 20 minutes in, apart from one. Like, that's ridiculous. And not just returns, 8s, 12s, and 11s. Like, and you've got to look at it from the eye test as well. Like, he reminds me, the way he plays, a bit like a budget sort of version, like lower down version of Cunha, which I know we're going to touch on in a minute. But kind of similar, like everything seems to come through him. He's always wanting the ball. Whereas Welbeck, Welbeck's going to be more static. He's going to be good at, don't get me wrong, he's great at sort of headers and things like that. But yeah, João Pedro is absolutely someone that I would be going for. He's just so injury prone, and it's not just this season. He's injury prone every season, unfortunately. He's such a good asset, but you just need to catch him when he's sort of fit. But I think now's the time to probably go for him. I would be looking at him if I've got a Chris Wood in my team. I'd be probably getting him over Chris Wood. I feel like his run's probably finished now, and I think Forrest might go on a little bit of a dip now. So he would be someone I would be looking at getting in, especially with Brighton's fixtures and how well Brighton's best ever start to a Premier League season. Like, that's, they ended up beating a Bournemouth team away from home, who had beaten City and Liverpool at last two home games, is it? Yeah. Something silly like that. And they was down to 10 men for most of that second half, and never a second yellow card, by the way. Barely a foul. But yeah, João Pedro seems to be one that you can't really ignore, even if it's just a Southampton at home, because they're so leaky.
Yeah, they beat Arsenal and City, and drew with Arsenal and City, and drew with Newcastle and Aston Villa. That Bournemouth team. That's just crazy, really. Southampton at home, Fulham away, Leicester away, Palace at home, West Ham away, and then Brentford at home. All the way the run up to Christmas time. Baz, would you look? Now, my drop down things come on the top. Although I was trying to I'm about to get their defensive stats up. Just give me a sec. Would you look at? There you go. Goals conceded. Their defense at all? 16 goals conceded. Only 3 clean sheets this season. Is there any part of you that would go for any of their defenders?
Well, I've got Verbruggen, and as we had a little joke about,
no, we shouldn't be.
What's that?
Well, defenders, but yeah, keeper. I think absolutely.
Right, it's part of the back five, shall we say, isn't it? So, but yeah, I've got Verbruggen. And as we joked about, obviously the keeper rotation, I think I've only got it twice this season. Right, so that's how bad it is on that front. Defender wise, shall I say him? Estupinian.
It's really
Um,
it's really got 8 points this year. Like this is he's actually played how many games? He's only missed what one? He's only missed 3 matches out of 12. I know he's come on as a sub sometimes, so he's actually played 9 matches and got 8 points.
That's
it,
awful,
it,
isn't
it's
It's
pretty bad, but we know obviously
Great shout, Baz.
yeah, I know it is, but obviously it's my crazy shout. You know, I love them. He probably could go on a run, knowing him. So, but yeah, so
I
yeah,
think you're better off getting Barco in, personally.
At least he'll hold his value, won't he?
yeah.
It's just this was the point I was making there, Buzz, because like I was trying to get like a stupid Yan. Even when you watch the game, he doesn't exactly look like a bad pick, but they're just not delivering the points, are they? So I think actually your pick's the best one. If I was going to go for any of them, I'd go for Verbruggen. In terms of a defensive asset. But yeah, let's not. I quit goalkeeper rotation on my wild card and went for Raya because I'm the same as you. I think I got 9 out of 11 wrong on the goalkeeper rotation, and then we sell Flecken and he keeps his first clean sheet of the season. It was absolutely brilliant. Literally everything. Yeah. See you later. See you later, John. John Flecken, John Fleck. There you go. That's a blast from the past, isn't it? Right, Wolves, lads. Let's talk about Wolves. Bournemouth at home, Everton away, West Ham away, Ipswich at home, and Leicester away. Those 5 fixtures are looking incredibly tasty. Their results have been very positive, and they've been scoring plenty of goals. Let me run through their results. They have, since their terrible start to the season, drawn. They lost their first. It was all the first 8, was it? No, they drew one with Forest, didn't they? With Forest. So they were on 1 point after 8 games. Then they drew with Brighton away and they drew with Palace at home. Okay. Then they've beaten Southampton 2-0 and then they've beaten Fulham away 4-1.
Great result that was.
Great result. That's the standout result, really, isn't it? Scott, any reason why people haven't got Mateus Cunha?
No, I mean, to be fair to us, you know me, I'm not a big O'Neill fan, but even I said, look, a few weeks ago on the pod, they were so unlucky. They were so unlucky in that game against Liverpool, so unlucky against that game against City, that 5-3 freak game against Brentford. They were playing well. They just wasn't getting the points on the board. They'll be really disappointed about dropping 2 points at home to Palace. But that 4-1 away win, going 1-0 down against Fulham as well. I know Fulham, they missed, I mean, Raul Jimenez owners, look away now. Missed basically a tap in, didn't he, when he smashed the bar. But they look brilliant from what I saw on Match of the Day. And again, they did obviously a bit of a spotlight on Cunha, which they've done a couple of times. And he's just the best player. He's just the best player by a mile. And he's one of the best players. If you've done a top 10 Premier League players this season, it's mental to say he'd probably be in there. Like everything is coming through him. I think he's number 5 on number of goals and assists combined this season. I think he's only behind like Haaland, Salah, Cole Palmer, Saka. Not bad, is it? So yeah, he's the one that you've got to get in your team, and he scores all different kind of goals as well. Like you saw the goals he scored at the weekend. One top bins outside the corner, one-on-one chances. He can get a header. He's just such great value for still 6.9 million with that run of fixtures, and he's proved that he can return against sort of any teams as well. So yeah, he's definite in a team that's seemed to have turned it around as well. He'd be the one that'd be bringing that first goal, the ball from was it Mario Lemina over the top, and he's like Bergkamp-esque top touch and a little. He's got that kind of arrogance. He's got that confidence.
He's so confident at the moment, isn't he? That's the thing. When you watch a player and you go, he is just oozing confidence. You just like he believes every time he walks on the pitch he is going to score a goal, and you can tell that when you watch him, and that makes such a massive difference. Like he's outperforming his XGI by double. 5.4 this season. He's done 10 returns. I mean, it's unbelievable. And this is what we said, obviously, a couple of weeks ago on the pod. He's returning even when they're losing. And now, look, when they're winning, he's got 28 points in 2 games. Just says it all. Baz, anything to add on Cunha, or should we talk about the rest of the Wolves team and players that you think we should be potentially investing in?
Well, couldn't you? They had a topic about it on Talksport earlier today, and I think he probably could get into Man City's team. To be honest, I think he can get
I could
in,
at the moment,
be a
Baz.
nice replacement for Salah. So again,
I could at the moment, Baz.
well,
I
yeah,
could.
there is that, yeah. Um, so, but yeah, I think he gets in most of the teams in the Premier League, to be honest. So yeah, but it's just that I had the money issue, or I would have got him, but it's this just how it is. But another player that I thought is good for Wolves at the moment is João Gomez. Um, Obviously, I was struggling to find some midfielders to pick, but with him, he's returned pretty well. Two double figures in the last three. From for a box to box midfielder, he's kind of like the Nunes for them. Not obviously Darwin, obviously the Mateus Nunes. He's replaced him really well. And he's fit quite well into how Wolves play, and I think he links up with Cunha pretty well from deep. So, yeah, I think he'd be a good little differential for someone to keep an eye on. He's at
Yeah,
4.9 and 0.6% owned, so worth a little punt on that.
I like it. I like the shout. And then you got obviously Strand Larson still doing some half decent returns. Mario Junior, Mario Lemina. Interestingly, when you look at form, eighth on that list in this team of probably 11 people that start is Eight Nuri. And Eight Nuri was the player that was almost like a non-negotiable, especially on a wild card with that list of fixtures.
Mm.
He basically was playing as a striker. He'd returned 991616 before a wild card. Scott, do we need to be worried by the fact that they scored 4 goals and he had an XG of 0, an XA of 0.01, and he played 90 minutes in a game to score 4 goals? Do you need to be worried by that?
I guess slightly, yeah. He's not getting in the positions, is he? Or like getting he's maybe been the pass before the assist kind of thing. So yeah, he's probably one that you need to be slightly, I guess, worried about. But again, I still think of 4.8 million with that run of fixtures and the fact that he still gets up the field. It's not like he's, one of these defenders that will just sit back all game. He is still getting there. He's just not, I guess, getting in the dangerous positions as much as we would want. Um, I don't maybe not scrambling to get him in at the minute. But I'm sort of him. I'm just definitely not doing a transfer on him. So, but yeah, maybe keep an eye on him. But I don't know if there's any other sort of budget defenders with that run of fixtures that's got a much better XGI than me. I'm sure you'll tell me.
Not that I know of. In terms of
Baz.
yeah.
You've al- you've also got to think of Eight Nori as well. He's on 4 yellow cards as well, so he's a ban away. So just be wary of that with Eight Nori. But he's been on that for quite a while now. But still,
I
just be
don't, mate.
wary of that if you do want to bring him in.
The thing is, as FPL managers for years and years, I've done the avoid a player because he's going to get suspended, and so many times, and then they just don't get suspended because they know if they get a yellow card, they get suspended, and like the amount of times, if you've got other options, like, don't get me wrong, if you've got other options, it's fair enough. HGA, I don't know. My thing with Eight Nuri is, you just know his potential over the seasons. You know the potential over the seasons to deliver, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he managed to turn that around and do some half decent returns anyway.
And to answer Scott's point, I know we just talked about Ipswich's fixtures aren't great, but Leif Davis has got better XG than most. I think he's second or first on XG for defenders. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he don't defend either. I was
No, he
watching Man
didn't.
United game. He was up there playing up top with Delat, wasn't he? So,
He does. I mean, he did it last season in the Championship, wasn't he? He was the guy that we were all looking at as maybe he might be the person that we need to invest in. And look, like say Forest away is not the best fixture, but to be fair, in game week 14 and 15, Palace and Bournemouth both at home, they're great fixtures, really. So, you wouldn't be buying him this week, but you might be buying him next. Especially if you are. Some people will be looking at potential wildcards in 16 as well if they have got or 16 or 17 if they have got it left to use. Remember, you've got to use it by the time it gets to game week 19 or 20. I think that kind of does it for fixtures. I will just we'll link it in We'll link it in as well with the City chat about the Spurs players. We'll do that after. Let's have a look at captaincy, lads, before we talk a little bit more about actual football. For this week, it's not the most straightforward. Deadline is at 6:30. That's what it is. Brighton play Southampton, so they've got the best fixture. Then it's Brentford, Leicester, Palace, Newcastle, Forest, Ipswich, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Arsenal. You've got Chelsea at home to Villa, United at home to Everton, Spurs at home to Fulham, and then Liverpool City. Not the easiest week for captains. A lot of people were talking, right, so let me just, while you're thinking about which captain to go for, a lot of people were having this conversation last week, and I saw on several podcasts whilst I had my tonsillitis last week, so apologies to everybody I didn't for doing a podcast. I apologize. You couldn't have heard me speak anyway. Load of podcasts. It's a really tough week, this game, week 12, to pick captains. It's a really, really tough week. You know, you could go for Haaland against this day. You could go for Palmer. You could go. I mean, you just pick the best player in the league with playing for the best team in the league, playing the worst team in the league, don't you? For me, it was the most straightforward Mo Salah captain I think I've had all season. I didn't even think about anybody else ever to be my captain this week, last week. And you saw it in our mini league. I think every single person, bar the Liverpool fan Cully, who's just a massive pessimist, and the two people that aren't doing their team still anymore, who are the bottom two, everyone had Salah captain. I didn't understand any of that content last week. And I feel like it's just one person said it on like FPL Mates channel that gets watched by like 250,000 people, and everyone just jumped on the bandwagon. No, absolutely not. This week's a hard captain. This is where I genuinely don't know where I'm going to go for. I mean, you know what Salah's like against City, but Scott, what are your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, really tough. I think probably if we had this conversation 24 hours ago, 5:30 on a Monday, probably be like, ooh, probably be looking at that Arsenal team against that really poor West Ham team. But it wasn't just the win last night for West Ham; it was how they played. They were brilliant. Aaron Wan-Bissaka had an absolute stormer. Antonio played well up top. Bowen was playing well, defensively solid. They were like a West Ham of old last couple of seasons. They were brilliant to watch, actually. So actually, that Arsenal, especially in the London derby, that is a bit of a worry. I do remember that fixture last season, though. I think Arsenal battered them like 4 or 5-0 because I was out and I was watching it in Boom Battle Bar. And I didn't have Arsenal assets and I was hating life. So
I'm gonna check that whilst you're talking. I'm gonna check that.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. I mean, Cunha is that's where my armband is in at the minute. Cunha at home to Bournemouth, on fire. Cole Palmer against the Villa team that's stuttering. Obviously, they've got Champions League. They've got a massive game against Juventus tomorrow night. So I think Cole Palmer could be a definite shout for Chelsea as well. Man United assets against Everton. If you've got Bruno Fernandes, could be. Spurs, no idea what Spurs you're getting. But if you've got maybe a Madison, he looks really good again. You know, he could be an option. Liverpool, Salah's still an option. Man City looking really poor. There's 5 or 6 genuine options. They're not like Barry Adams Stokes. Ooh, you could put in I don't know, Christophe Dugarry against someone like that. There's genuine options this week, but I'm sure
Nah,
Baz has
I
got a
was
couple of
thinking Michael
worldies.
Dubry, to be honest.
Oh God, he's in prison, isn't he?
Oh God, yeah, he's not going to score anything. Score any goals this week. 6-0. They've beat
There
them.
we go. Knowledge.
Saliba, Saka with 2, Gabriel and Trossard all put them 4-0 up at half time. Yeah, Saka and Rice in the second half.
I was going to say Rice. Yeah, I remember I didn't have Saka. I never have Saka. Something about him, I just never have him.
It was 6-0 after 65 minutes.
Yeah, remember it. Yeah.
My armband at the moment is on Salah, only because he has a great record against City and he's playing really well. And I think City look really poor, to be honest, at the moment. But yeah, it's probably between him and Cunha at the moment. I do have Bruno Fernandes, but I still don't know exactly where he's going to play for United. He started off in one of them 10 roles, and then he ended up in the centre of midfield. Really debatable. And yeah, I've got Palmer as well, so as a choice. Baz, where's yours at the moment?
And Bumo. Just to be different because I need to catch up, and if he scores some goals, obviously Leicester ain't got a manager at the moment, so I just think let's roll the dice. Brentford look obviously good going forward, but obviously shocking defensively, but you know he's going to be there or thereabouts. Him and Wisa. You could also, if I bring in João Pedro, maybe captain him. I think he'd be a good shout, maybe. So
Yeah.
maybe one of them two. For me. Maybe even if I
Not
bring in Matoma.
none
Yeah.
none of them are crazy shouts, Baz. Like this is what I mean. This is a proper week where you could really captain.
You can even go
Uh,
Chris Wood.
I mean,
Oh,
well, I
that
mean,
is too far. Too far.
you could do. He's not
I
scored
don't.
last
Well,
couple, has he?
we'll say he'll score.
Have you got him? Have you sold him,
No.
Baz? Okay,
Just,
fine.
yeah, I
If you
sold
haven't
it when he
got,
went on that massive run, didn't he?
oh, of course, yeah. So Chris Wood could do well. Um, then the deadline is Tuesday, the 3rd of December at 6 o'clock for a good old Amazon Prime week. So Ipswich play Palace, Leicester play West Ham on Tuesday. Wednesday is Everton Wolves, Man City Forest, Newcastle Liverpool, Southampton Chelsea, Arsenal Man United, Villa Brentford. And then it's Fulham Brighton and Bournemouth Spurs on Thursday. Lads, are we looking at Mr. Palmer probably in that fixture? I mean, Palmer, Salah. I mean, Haaland might have some captains there. It feels like it's a return to the big boys in the midweek fixtures. Thoughts, Barry?
Yeah, mine will probably be definitely on Palmer. I'm not going crazy on that one. Um, just
I love a
he
good
should have
probably
scored, but
definitely,
Madueke
Baz.
made a great save. No,
I
me, I
love
might change my mind. And depends how I wake up in the morning, to be honest, and how far behind I am.
Yeah, but Palmer will be where I'm looking at straight away on this one. Scott, what do I don't think the other one's a bad shout, by the way. I don't think Haaland's a bad shout, obviously, but you know he's not scoring a bit and blah blah blah. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one, isn't it? Because the only player you've probably got attacking wise for Man City, if you've still got him, is Haaland at this time. I think it's an interesting one. Let's see what they do against Liverpool. It could be a big turning round if they put on a performance. Haaland gets a goal and assist, something like that. So a few people scrambling maybe to get Haaland back. And if you're still holding on to it at this point, which I know a lot of people will still have Haaland, how can you have Manchester City playing Nottingham Forest and Haaland and not captain him? So I think that's crazy. I think Forest have had a good start to the season, but I think it's ridiculous regardless. You've got a captain Haaland if you still got him. If not, I agree, Cole Palmer. And then potentially an Arsenal asset. Just depends what Man United we get. Like they just drew against Ipswich. Like that's not a very good result. And again, it wasn't a lucky draw for Ipswich either. So could have an Arsenal asset at home to Man United on that as well. But no one else really sticking out on that one. I feel like Cunha could be, but Everton are probably back to boring Everton, just not conceding. So probably not.
Last four times City have played Forest: 2-0 City, 2-0 City, 1-1 away at Forest, and 6-0 City at home. So yeah, I mean they obviously do seem to do well against these guys. I think that leads us in really quite nicely to have a chat from a footballing perspective about Man City, because my intro to this piece is going to be, obviously they've lost 5 games in a row, which is what's pretty unheard of, to be honest. It is unheard of for a Pep team. It's
Yeah,
unheard of for
first
the
ever
man.
Pep's lost that much.
That's it. But they've lost 3 in a row in the Premier League. In all honesty, the first 3 losses they had, they were a bit freak, weren't they? Let's be honest. Who did they lose to first? Yeah, they lost to Bournemouth, didn't they? Who aren't exactly a bad side in the Premier League. Then they had that Spurs in the Carabao Cup, which could have been anything really, because you know what Spurs are like against them, and they played a half a team, and Spurs played the full team. And then had that Amarin game, the last for Sporting, and I was just a bit like, well, these things happen, and they go on little runs. The last 2 have been quite genuinely worrying for Man City fans, in my opinion. Blowing a 1-0 lead against Brighton and looking very fragile. and getting absolutely battered by Spurs. And I watched the game, and they were, apart from the first 10 minutes, got battered by them. Scott, what's the problem with City? What do you think is the issue?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because after 10 minutes in that game against Spurs, it could have easily been 3-0. I sat there thinking, here we go. They're back. They're gonna absolutely dismantle this really makeshift Spurs team, by the way, with Ben Davies and Dragonson, who's not exactly impressed me much since he's come into the team. But your boy Ben Davies there, Baz, doing an absolute stormer for Spurs.
Yeah.
So really impressive from their aspect. But yeah, I mean, very rare. It's one of the biggest cases of missing a player I think I've ever seen. Obviously, they've got a guy called Kevin De Bruyne. That's still a very, very, very good player. That's, of course, been injured. It's Kevin De Bruyne. So he struggled to get into the team. But they've clearly relied, and I feel like we get more awareness of it these days because there's more analysis and there's probably more kudos to defensive midfield players than there ever was. But it still goes under the radar how much Rodri does for them a little bit. That sounds ridiculous, just one Ballon d'Or, but a little bit. It doesn't stick out as much on the pitch. I bet it doesn't stick out until maybe Gary Neville says it, and then I become aware of it watching it, for example. But the City players are clearly relying on him as well. In years gone past, City's defence has not always been great. Certainly not last year. I remember them being quite leaky, but previous to that, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like they've always been quite solid on the Pep actually for a good couple of seasons. You had some really good options in that, even like John Stones was a great option. Obviously, Gavardio this season. People have had Lewis in as a cheaper asset, and in years gone by, we had like, oh, should we get Edison in? They're keeping clean sheets. You never thought they'd concede against teams like Brighton or Brentford, West Ham, Ipswich. You never think they'd go 1-0 down against Ipswich. So there's clearly a lack of confidence as well in the team. You've got your main boy Haaland, who's really struggling for him to score goals, and he scored for his country a hat-trick in midweek. So I really thought actually that he would score at least one against Spurs, but really struggling. I think if Haaland gets an early goal in that game, it's a completely different game. He goes on, probably gets a hat-trick. But yeah, it's the biggest challenge Pep's had in a long, long time. Let's not forget when Pep first came in, they weren't this Man City team that we've seen over the last couple of seasons. He really struggled, actually. He didn't win the league in his first season. So it's a big challenge for them. They need to get Kovacic back in that holding midfield role, or he needs to do something that I think Pep's done really well in recent years and actually mix it up a bit. Like, I know he's had like John Stones playing in that role before. They've been very leaky this season, and it's gone under the radar because Haaland's been smashing in goals. Now Haaland's not smashing in goals, and they've been called out. So there's a lot of question marks there, and I think Liverpool away, in a weird way, is quite a good fixture because it's the hardest fixture in the calendar, and probably the one where they're going into, and no one expects them to actually probably get anything out of the game. So actually, the back's up against the wall, and this is when Pep's done the best in recent years. So long-winded answer, but they're my thoughts on it.
That's yeah. No, is it with the real lack of intensity was the thing that really got me, almost lack of awareness, and it was literally like watching a Man United team. That's how it felt. Like I've watched that play out so many times in front of my mind, in front of my eyes on a weekend. Are the players tired? Have they got complacent? Are they a bit done at this point? Have they gone one step too far to go 5 in a row? Do they need replacement? What needs to happen? Do the players there still have it? Do they need to kick up the backside, or do they need to go to the transfer market in January very desperately?
I think it's that holding midfielder. Obviously, it proved when Kovacic and Rodri wasn't there that there's no one there. And it's just literally like Moses is just walking through and the sea's just parting. It was a bit like that. It was like no one's there. And when Ruben Diaz is not in the heart of that defence,
Yeah,
they're abysmal in defence. They don't know where they're going. It proved it when one of the goals I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Lewis or one of the. No, it was Guardiola. Bad pass. And then obviously they were all over the place. They didn't know where to go. And they've got too many aging players as well. De Bruyne is obviously the wrong side of 30. Walker just absolutely got steamrolled by Timo Werner. And obviously Werner just came on, but obviously it just went beep beep straight past him. So yeah, so I think they need to go. It's just defensively they look really bad. I know they've got quite a few injuries and things like that with that. It, that's the issue on that front. And Haaland is having chances, just snatching at him. He's not getting on him. And Scott mentioned upon that, yeah, he scored an hat-trick against not for Norway, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to score here, surely. No, but for Spurs side, as Scott mentioned, Dragusin and Ben Davis at the heart of defence, they play for nations that play defensive and play on the counter attack, and I think that suited that they were a perfect partnership to play against Man City because of that, and I think that's probably the reason why they won because they had them too. And Romero and Van der Ven, they pushed too forward, and you can't really do that leaving all that space behind with Haaland. So it was actually a bit of luck really to have them two players fit for Tottenham. So yeah, so
Well,
that's my take on it.
one player I think, just looking at the team there, one player I think they're missing in times like this, Alvarez. Like,
Yeah.
he was bailing them out a lot last season when, maybe in a game where Haaland wasn't scoring, Alvarez was. He was linking up the play. You've got people like Foden not turning up this season. Savio doesn't have an end product. Looks right in the ball, doesn't have an end product at all. Bernardo Silva, like you say, not been on the form. 100 million Jack Grealish cost. Let's not forget that. What has he done since he's ever been at Man City? Nothing. So not enough players actually stepping up into the mould. And again, similar to Doku, no end product for me. Not as much end product as there should be for that amount of money.
Yeah, well, obviously, Man City buy these players to turn them into the end products. Obviously, buying Kevin De Bruyne from Wolfsburg, who wasn't really the end product, and then obviously turned into one of the best Premier League attacking midfielders you've seen. So it's just time to get these in, but he needs to buy premium players like Zubamendi. Needs to get him in, but he's going to fight a battle against quite a few top teams to get him in. So yeah, it's one of them he needs to look at buying for now, not in the future. And like
Yes,
Savio
but
reminds me of Cunha previously. He had no end product, and then this season he's got an end product. So obviously Cunha was a bit of a troll where he passed the eye test massively, and then he didn't have the end product. But now obviously he does. So hopefully Savio potentially next couple of seasons he'll be good. Same with Doku, but
but you
you can't
got
really
you got
if you want to go for the win and get five league titles on the bounce. So
we got
yeah,
you got Matheus Nunes. He had the end product. He's come in and done nothing. He's not been given many chances, but he was smashing it at Wolves, wasn't
yeah,
He's
he's
a
actually looked one of their best players as well, didn't he? To be
It's
fair,
odd.
when he played.
He definitely did. It's odd because the big thing isn't we have this and this happens. This happened in a few different seasons for different teams over the years, and the most notable one for me was when this happened to Liverpool when they lost Van Dijk when Jordan Pickford did that scissor challenge in the Merseyside derby and took his knee out, and they also then lost another central defender, didn't they? I mean, obviously Matip's never fit ever and never was, unfortunately. But then they moved Fabinho out of there, and you lose that defensive solidity, that pivot, that how you pass the ball out from the back. So all these teams, none of them play long now. They all pass it out from the back, and there's not that they're missing too many key players from their spine, and that's Diaz and Rodri are massive. And obviously Alisson was out, wasn't he, that season for Liverpool, and they ended up 17 points off Man City, and they won the league the season before. There are just certain players in all of these big teams that you just can't afford to lose. And I think, well, obviously Rodri is one of those guys. And I think this takes us on really nicely to the next point, which is to talk about Liverpool and to talk about Mo Salah and this contract situation where I don't. I mean, I've not read all of the facts, but what's come out about this, by the looks of it, is that he hasn't been offered a new contract at all yet. That's what seems to be the words from the quote from him. And obviously Jamie Carragher's gone on the most popular TV show as a Liverpool fan and branded him selfish. So maybe not not the greatest way of going about things ever, but yeah, is he right, Baz? Is he being selfish or is he being disrespected? And do Liverpool just need to offer him a contract,
From a
whatever it is,
contract.
really?
They made so much money from academy players. I think it was 40 odd million made through them. Just offer them what I think the issue they've got is I don't think it's the wage. I think it's the years and the length of the contract. You'd offer a Salah 2 year plus an optional third. That's what I would offer him. Because he's still, as we've seen when he ripped his shirt off to everyone's disgust because we all captained him. He's like, we've just lost a point, and now we lost 3 bonus points as well because somehow Shabojlai got that.
It cost us 4 points, didn't it? That one,
Yeah,
that shirt
exactly.
rip off cost us all 4 points. That's great. There you go.
So, so it was a bit of a nightmare on that front. So for me, you've got to have him, and I think Liverpool was trying to get him away from the press, but then when he was going to get his man of the match trophy, press obviously butted in, and how Salah handled the situation was he definitely wants to stay, but obviously he has no contact, and obviously he's more out than in. So yeah, I think they need to do some contract talks soon, or Saudi might be coming and go, here you go, here's 600K or whatever it will be a week.
I'll be way more than that. Right, as a Muslim player going to Saudi Arabia, he'll be paid the same as Ronaldo, near enough. Surely, near enough. Like he is their icon over there. He's like the messiah up there with Ronaldo. He'll be given whatever he wants, near enough. Scott, is he being selfish? Did he handle it badly? Should he have kept it all internally as well? Or and what's your take on the whole situation in terms of giving him a contract?
I don't think he's selfish at all. I think he gets this team out of sticky situations. He's done it for about 6 years. Like, I think he's an absolute beast for him, isn't he? Like, and no, I don't think he's just telling the truth. He's not been offered a contract. So it is what it is. It's again, bring it back to our work. If someone asks me, you've been offered a, well, no, I am. I'm not gonna lie. At the end of the day, it was an interesting one though. Since the Five Live yesterday, it's not like Salah to speak to the press, and so obviously he's quite an introverted character, and apparently he sought them out as well. So I mean, it's a great time at the end of that game to mention your contract because my God, you put in a man of the match performance, you've scored 2 goals, and you've got your team a hard-earned victory there. So your stock's never going to be higher. But I mean, it all comes down to the best 3 players for Liverpool are all out of contract at the end of the season. So are they saying, look, we've only got money for 2 of them? Trent, you would think, as the youngster out of all them, that they probably ideally want to keep. However, they can probably get a lot of money for him, but that's not too much money because obviously going to be out of contract. Maybe you can still get 40 million from him in January. Someone would probably pay that. But no, you're Liverpool, you've got this new era. Your team's flying. You're looking, even at this early stage, you're looking pretty good for the title. You want Salah, like Pop says, 2 years with an additional 3. I think he's got 3 prime years left in him, and then he'll probably start waning. And then you can still cash in because Saudi will still give you 50 million for him, 60 million.
That was going to be one of my points, though. They'll still pay that money for him if the league is still there. They'll still pay the money. And Jamie Carragher made this point about, well, Ian Rush left and we all moved on, and Michael Owen left and Suarez left. No, you didn't win any titles till Salah came after they left. It was such a non-point on those last players. Like you lost them, and you then never won any Premier League trophies. And Salah said that he loves the fans and they love me. I think that was the quote, and he wants to stay. And he says, I'm very professional. If you could see my work ethic, that's what it was. I'm just doing my best because this is who I am, and I try to give it all for myself and for my club, and we'll see what happens next. For me, Liverpool need to sort themselves out, and he is their player that he's their only consistent goal scorer. So he's definitely got 3 prime years left in him. Just shut up and give him a contract.
Do you reckon the owners are a bit like, oh crap, I wish we weren't so far ahead in this league? Because obviously like Salah's agent and Trent's agents and Virgil's agents gone, look, we've got you like 8 points clear at the top of the league. Give me 400K a week now. Where would you be without us?
I wanted to ask you this question actually on Liverpool, and I know we're going on a little bit here, but obviously Salah's their most important player in terms of scoring goals. Virgil's their most important player in terms of defence. That's pretty obvious, as we saw in the 2021 season when they fell apart without him. Everyone says about Trent being the most the most valuable asset because he's the youngest, but is he the one that they can afford? Not afford in terms of money, but is he the one that they can actually afford to lose in terms of the football side of things more than the other two? What do you think,
I
Scott?
think if you're looking short term, yes, absolutely, because you just look at FPL stats and stats in their eye this year. He's not put another quid in the meter, mate.
I know.
He's obviously not performed numbers wise. Salah's what, one of their top performer in FPL, is he? Yeah.
Probably.
And Van Dijk's, I wouldn't like to think of what that defense would actually look like without Van Dijk. Yes, Kelleher's come in and done a really good job, really good keeper. Probably going to go at the end of the season to be number one at another Premier League club, which well deserved, by the way. But without Allison in there, he's really maintained that really good relationship with Canate. Canate was losing his head a bit actually at the weekend as well. He was all over the place, but having Van Dijk there next to him, I think really helped. See, performance wise, yes. If we're talking who's going to be the top performers over the next 5 years, I would probably say Trent and Salah would be the two. I would put Van Dijk third on that list. But yeah, with what you're saying, I would agree.
Has there anything to add on Liverpool before I want your take on the sacking of Steve Cooper? Anything to add on Liverpool before we move on?
Priority would be Salah first, Trent, then Virgil, because Virgil's 33 now, so that would be my priority. Just easy as that.
I think he's
Yeah, but he's
slightly
got another
easier to
another,
replace.
another 10 years, hasn't he? What did Pepe retired at 43? Didn't
Yeah, yeah, still going, isn't he, Pepe, somewhere? And he's retired now. Yeah, Cooper, your man, Baz, previously. Um,
It's a shame, to be honest with it. He gets the results, but the problem is, it's the Premier League. We know how cutthroat it is. If you don't perform and fans turn on you because they didn't like how defensive he was. I work in Leicestershire, so I've got quite a lot of people that are Leicester fans and they don't like his brand of football. And we know what happened with David Moyes regarding that. Obviously, Moyes got him a European trophy and he still got sacked because they didn't like his brand of football. So that's my take on it. And if I had to put money on who's going to be the next one, Graham Potter's going to be the man that takes over. He was linked with the job prior to that. Another one of my ex managers, because he was delaying over it, thinking, "Am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it?" And then obviously they went, "Well, we can't take it any longer." And obviously got Cooper in. So for me, 16th, Leicester would have snapped their hand off. So I don't know why he's got sacked. I think it's just the brand of football they didn't like.
yeah, odd sacking for me, to be honest. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, really strange sacking. Took over at a tough time for the club. Obviously, lost the guy who's just won the league. Still had the points deduction hanging over him as well. Came in and wasn't particularly lauded over. But he thought, you know what? I think even Gary Lineker said it. Probably this manager, Steve Cooper's got more of a chance of keeping us up because he will be a bit more defensive minded. Your first priority when you get promoted to the Premier League, no matter who you are, is staying in the Premier League. Stay in the Premier League, and then you rebuild. Then you start actually a couple of seasons in the Premier League. Yeah, we're being comfortable. We want to be a bit more of a attacking team. Okay, now look, then. Now look, so maybe that manager's took it as far as he can. But yeah, very, very, very surprised. Feel really bad for him. Think he did a really, really solid job at Forest. Did a decent job at Swansea, getting us to the player final was it?
Yeah.
Losing to Brentford, Ivan Toney, I believe, 1-0.
Cheers.
Sorry to bring that back. Sorry, could be my club, mate. But yeah, I know Rude's the favourite at the minute, but I don't think that would be a good appointment. I think they need to go with I think Graham Potter, yeah. A bit more attacking, knows the Premier League, but a couple of names on that list, that's quite interesting actually. Lee Cow's at 33-1. Interesting.
I think you never know, do you? Could be a Southgate job. That Yeah, we all agree on a strange sacking. And my boys down in 12th, I'll give a quick verdict on Man United, then we'll do differential draft and wrap, because we've just gone over an hour. But I've really enjoyed the chat, so it's been good. And no one wants to hear me talk about Man United anyway. So if you're not bothered about Man United or differential draft, just turn off now. So from my perspective, watching the team, exactly what everyone expected in terms of the system and formation. We're just getting used to it and getting to know it. So we'll see what happens from an FPL cross aspect. I think actually we might look at potentially keeping a couple more clean sheets, but I wouldn't be buying any Man United players right now. I think we need time to settle. Obviously, I went Bruno in instead of Saka, just on a bit of a gamble, and it didn't end up paying off. So, but there you go. I think it's a moment to give us all time. Let's have a quick look at the results of differential draft game week 12. And I won't ask you to read your team out, Baz. 4 points total for Darwin and Gordon. Bradley, Neto didn't play, and then Leno got no points as well. Conceding
Can I just call out as well, by the way? I would just like to call this out, Alex. I was on a work night out, so actually I didn't do mine till later. So you had more options as well.
That was the first pick as well. That makes it even worse. But Alex, you can't say anything. You would have picked majority. You'd have picked my midfield. So
yeah, to be fair, and I'd have got 1 point less. that's like I went Jones and Barnes instead of I'd have gone Gordon and Neto. That'd have been my two players. Yeah, absolutely. Neto against Leicester and Gordon against West Ham, and obviously Neto just didn't end up playing. Kelleher got my penalty save, which is good for 7 points, which dug me out of a hole for 12 points. And Scott, you got 13 because you got Madueke got 3 points. Because did you get a clean sheet because he got subbed off? That's what happened, didn't it?
right.
Yes, before Leicester scored, and Erdegaard with 6. So, Barry, you're first to pick on differential draft again, and Scott, you're last again. And yeah, I'm in the middle because I think I've only won 1 week out of 12 so far. It's just I'm not going to plan for me, but yeah, right. Go ahead, go on, Barry. Who are you going first?
Odegaard 4.4.
Odegaard 4.4. I'm going to go controversially. I'm going to start off by picking my goalkeeper. And I'm going to go with Verbruggen at 2.6.
Fair enough. Stall. Let's go for James Maddison, 7.3.
Nice.
Son 6.3.
Oh, crap, was that an option? Doing. Whatever.
I'm gonna go for the man that everyone is raving on about with players like Mbomo as most underrated players in the Premier League. I'm gonna go for Kulusevski at 4%.
Is it me?
Underrated FC. Yeah, go on.
Is it on me? Okay, cool. I will go for.
It's your go, Scott. It's your go.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Marcus Rashford, mate.
I knew you were going to go for Rashford.
No,
I literally just circled Rashford. I was like, I bet Scott goes. And it circled in my book. I was like, Scott's going for Rashford right now. Go on, Baz. Who are you going for?
I'm picking my goalkeeper, Fraser Forster, 0.2%. Vicario is out injured, so Forster comes in.
He's knocked his ankle, hasn't he? Everyone was ripping him, saying, "Get up! What are you doing? You're moaning for?" No, he fractured his ankle. That was a tough time for him. I am going to. I'm just gonna back my boys. Why not? Ahmad, 3.3%.
What keeper did you go for, Al?
Verbruggen.
Ah, crap. Oh, yeah, come back to keepers. Come back to keepers. Do that. I don't know what we're doing. Oh,
you don't need to pick your keeper yet, Scott. We've both picked ours.
I know, but I do. I need to factor it in for the percentage. Is what I need to do.
Oh,
yeah.
Live picks. Don't worry, guys.
Well,
We're not doing our draft picks for game week 14 as well this time. We'll just post those on socials.
Oh God, we've got that to do as well. Jesus. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to go for my forward. What's that? Yeah, forward.
Let's go at Wolves that Baz could pick if he wanted.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm going who I'm going for. I'm going for Strong Larson.
Damn.
Well, do
Take
you know
my
what?
pick.
Do you know what that guarantees? That Baz is picking Evan Nilsson.
Yeah, Evan Nilsson, yeah.
It guarantees it. It's like, you know what's happening next? Baz is picking Evan Nilsson.
Evan Nilsson, 2%.
I'm going to go for Moreno at Forest at 0.8. Because I don't need to pick a striker because you just both pick yours. So I can leave it till last.
Are you in for Alex Moreno?
Yeah, which is the other one? Which is the other one?
Oh, who have Liverpool got? Who have Liverpool got? Come on,
it's just the biggest game of this season. They've lost 5 in a row, though, so you could go for a Liverpool player if you want.
5 in a row, 5 in a row. They're Manchester City, and they've lost 5 in a row. I'll go for another one of Baz's. Bit of a FPL legend for Baz. Nelson Semedo, 0.3%.
First, I thought he was going to nick mine. I'm going for a stupid Jan.
Oh, God. Stupid pick.
8 points in 9 appearances. Baz is going to pick it.
Come on, one. But he can be better. He's done better than my actual team, isn't he?
To be fair, he actually has. Yeah, it was interesting. I was really debating Luke Shaw or Dragusin at the back as well. It was my other two that I was thinking of. But yeah, it was a close
Yeah, I'll
one.
go for. Sorry, mate. I'll go for. Is it me?
No, I'm going
sorry.
I'm going for Visser as my striker, 8.5%.
Cool. Well, I'll go for my third Wolves player. Clearly backing him. Jose Sarr, 1.8%.
I think Johnson's starting, but never mind.
Is
I
he?
think so. No, I think Sarr's
Oh, no. Yeah. Because he's played the last 5 games.
Yeah, Johnson's back fit as well to do that as well. Yeah, Verbruggen, Moreno, Kulusevski, Amad Diallo, and Visser for me.
Forster, Estupinian, Son, Odegaard, and Evan Nilsson.
Jose Sarr, Semedo, Maddison, Rashford, Strand Larson.
Scott's gone for a BTEC England midfield. They didn't even make the Euros. And Baz has gone for Baz, you've gone for the people's midfield.
Hopefully it turns my fortunes around. Don't want a hat trick of losses.
Yes, to be fair.
They've got to start calling me Pep.
I think Scott's on a hat trick of win. We're just on a hat trick of Scott winning, me coming second, you coming third.
Yep.
It's I don't think I've won one, so let's call it that. Right, lads. Right, we've gone
quick one. Baz will get the differentials up on social medias, and Baz, can you please have the players' names this time, because with a bit of feedback, but it's quite confusing when you do that. So please come up with the players' name.
These ones do, mate. It's just the other ones that don't.
I heard someone got quite aggressive, so but
Captain Norbert will be happy.
Oh, bless him for having no life. Anyway, and then just to put up here, we had our 3-week gambles. I went for Neto. Baz has done a new graphics. We've got floating heads. I hope you guys all like these. These are good fun, aren't they? Here he is. Baz looking great. He did it himself.
You two look amazing, and I look like a right goofball. Cheers for that.
Well, my first headshot, I didn't look amazing.
No, you didn't. That was a bad picture.
To be fair, Georgia did say that you looked really good in your photo, Scott.
I don't. Thanks, Georgia.
Yeah, it started well for me. No points and 1 point for Neto and Mason Mount. I thought might get a start, but never mind. Didn't. Evan Nilsson with 2 points. John McGinn with an assist, Barry. 5 points for you.
Again.
And Scott can't stop beating us this year. Hoyland with 1 point, but then is that Lamina? No name on here. No name on here really confuses me.
Mario Jr. That's what it is.
Mario Jr. with 6 points. So yeah, sorry, I had to get another needler now. Great fun. Right, lads, thanks for joining us this week. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, All on Football Pod, All Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to have a look at the fantasy football group that Baz is an admin of on Facebook, where he's going to post some of these graphics. And please, if you are going to give him some nonsense in the comments, think twice because Scott has Baz's back.
Yeah. And rather than do that, have a go at picking your own differential draft. Shout out Judith Williams. Smashed it this week.
28
And Guy
points.
Ferguson's always loved it.
28 points.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well done, Judith. Considering
That's 7 times more than what I got.
Matt's got 4 points, got 28. Fantastic for you, Judith. Yes, don't forget to like the video on YouTube, share it with all your pals, and then also subscribe to our channel. And then, yes, subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts from, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, or wherever. Scott, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Cheers.
Barry, thank you for joining us this week from your car park, wherever you are in the world.
And thank you.
And it's a goodbye from me. Bye for now.